Right, everyone. So I wanted to do a video on The Finals. It's quite a new game. 'Cause it came out in December last year, but I've been playing it quite a lot recently after my friend recommended it to me. And I'm really quite enjoying it. I think it's quite a good game. So I wanted to go over some reasons why I think it is so good. So let's get started. First up, the graphics. They are fantastic. They are some of the best graphics I've seen in a while for a first-person game like this. Not only are the graphics so good though, but it's so well optimised with them. It runs so smooth. The downside of this though is because they have done such a good job at making it so well optimised and focused so much on it, it's only available on the newer consoles, not the older ones. So if you don't have like Series X or S or PS5, you can't play the game. You can still play it on PC though, obviously, as well. Now this is a shame, of course, as it excludes quite a few players, but for the people that do have the newer consoles, it is really quite impressive how well it runs, and especially with how good the graphics are, and such a fast-paced game as well. Next up, the destruction. It is the best destruction I've seen since Battlefield 1, and anyone who's played Battlefield 1 will tell you that destruction in that game was great. Essentially, every building, every wall, everything you see can be destroyed and reduced to rubble, and it is so impressive how well the game runs even when this is happening. This is definitely one of the main selling points of the game. Because the environment can change so drastically and so quickly, it adds a lot of variety, because it means that defending these points is likely to be a lot different than what you would have done defending them in the past, because the environment can be vastly different. The fighting is also really satisfying. There's a decent variety in weapons, but there's also not too many that it feels like some of them have just been reskinned for the sake of having extra weapons. I think they've also done quite a good job with the balancing of these weapons, because they all have the pros and cons, and you will likely see most of them, if not all of them, being used in your various games. It's not like one or two are used exclusively. Obviously some guns are better and some guns are used more than others, but still, like I say, that's bound to happen. But I think they've done quite a good job. But shooting the guns, and when you get an elimination, the way the enemies like disintegrate into coins, it's really satisfying. They've done a really good job with it. Now the movement, definitely another main point of the game that they've done really well, at least in my opinion. I think they've hit the sweet spot with movement, with not being too slow and also not too fast. You're not slow at all. The movement is really satisfying and you always feel very mobile, like jumping between rooftops. Some of the abilities like using the grappling hook to get around. But you're also not too quick. You're still easily able to keep track of enemies and yourself. Some games where they try and do movement in a similar way, in my opinion, I think they might have gone a bit too over the top, and it's sometimes hard to keep track of the enemies and, like, say, even yourself where you're going, because it's just too quick, you're too mobile. So like I said, I think they've hit it right in the perfect place. I think it's right in the centre where it should be. There's also a lot of customization. Like, I've already talked about the guns, but there's a lot of gadgets too and a lot of variation in them. But also a lot of customization of your character. This is always quite a nice thing to see in multiplayer games, because you can add quite a bit of personality to your character. I quite like it. One thing that is a bit of a shame though is, at least at the moment, because like I say, it is quite a new game, at least when I'm recording this, there aren't a lot of customization things you can unlock through playing the game. Not that look very good anyway. Most of them you do have to pay for, which I hope they do add more you can just unlock through playing in the future. And the gameplay itself is just great as well. All these things I've just said, of all these positives, all come together to make the gameplay so enjoyable. The gameplay is so fast-paced and chaotic. It's genuinely some of the most fun I've had with my friends in quite a while. And I've never really played a game like it, at least that's done this well. Now, it isn't all positive, of course, but the positives do vastly outweigh the negatives, in my opinion. Now, you can say a few things for the negatives, but a lot of them feel like nitpicks, really. The main sizable thing is the variety and the lack of it, really. And this is mainly aimed at the maps and the objectives. As I've mentioned, this don't really apply to the classes, because, like I say, they have quite a decent variety of guns and gadgets. With the maps, there are only 4 of them, really. And like I said before, the changes in the environment with the destruction do help alleviate some of it, but really, you want to see more maps. Now, the game modes is a big one, because there are only 2 of them, and they're very similar. They both basically boil down to collect the money and bank it, and that's about it, really. Now, whilst I'm still playing the game, still racking up hours and still enjoying it, I do see after an extended period of time how this can get quite boring if nothing's changed. Hopefully though, this is just because the game is so new. Hopefully in the future they'll add more maps and more game modes, permanent ones, to help this. Overall, I think The Finals is a fantastic game to play, especially if you have friends to play it with. It's good to play on your own, but when you're in a group of, especially 3 people, because that's what the teams are, it's so fun to just play and run around with and just have fun. And on top of all this, the game's free to play. And of course it does come with a standard free to play game, things like the battle pass and the microtransactions and all that. But like similar games, these are only for cosmetic items, so it's not necessary in the slightest. So if you want, this game can be completely free. So because of this, I would highly recommend installing the game and giving it a try. And I would also recommend, if you have friends who also have the newer consoles and whatnot, recommend it to them and getting them to install it, like my friends did to me, like I said at the start. Because, like I say, if you do have a full group of people playing it, group 3, it's fantastic. And it's not a big game neither. It's on all platforms. I'm pretty sure it's under 20 gigabytes, so it's worth an install. Even if you don't like it, it's worth a try. It is a blast whenever I play it. It is probably one of the best games I've played in a short while, and I couldn't recommend it more. Anyways, thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.